I'm Helmut Marschek, and I'm sitting here today with my granddaughter to record my life story. And it all begins in Mecklenburg. Mecklenburg is a province of Germany. On the Rostock was the city, was the county seat. I was born on April the 4th, 1934, and my mother was Antonia Marschek. She was not married, and she was 18 years old when I was born. My father was Bernhard Fischer, and he was the kind of a person that didn't want to acknowledge that he had a son, which I of course was. And there was another family involved in bringing me up. The name is Persan, Persan. And when I was 9 days old, my mother gave me up because she could not handle a small baby. I guess she also had to work. In those days, it was very difficult to find jobs just the way it is here at this moment. And she gave me to the Persan family. They had 3 adult daughters and 3 adult sons. And shut it off a minute. My new foster father, he was a farm worker. He was taking care of about 60 cows. He also had 4 helpers with him that stayed in the same house where we stayed and lived. And they were getting up like 4 o'clock in the morning to hand milk those 60 cows. And it was very hard work. They were very hard working people. And my mother, she was just my foster mother. She was just a person to take care of everything in the house. She did not work on the farm itself. There's not too much I remember in those early days, but I know because of a picture that we have that was a wedding picture, and everybody that belonged to the family, I guess, was present at that time. And I might get back to that later. Shortly after this wedding, we moved to another place, and that place was called Grabau. Grabau was another beautiful country seat. It was actually a castle, and where we were, and we worked. My foster father, he worked there on the farm as well. This farm was the house, the entire property was owned by a Jewish person. And at that time, of course, Hitler was the chancellor and dictator of Germany, so it was very scary to be a Jew. And not too long after we moved there, a very fancy long bus kind of a car came to pick up, they were arrested, picked up those Jewish people that owned the place, and just took them away, and we never saw them again. Left behind was a little boy that I played with because I was a little boy at that time, and a grandfather and grandmother. And we heard that they were taken away, or they somehow got away and lived now in Argentina and South America. Hopefully that is true, because it would have been bad for them to remain behind and not have anywhere to go. I remember one incident when I was little and played, like they had like a big area where they had like a lay down area for all kinds of storage equipment. And this little boy and I, we were walking across this area, and a bull came out of the stall. And of course we knew that bulls can be very mean and tricky. So we stopped dead in our shoes, and the bull kind of ran off, because he probably realized that we were little kids. They could not, that we would not do anything to harm that bull. Okay, that was bad. Today the castle is still in existence, and we have heard that it was taken over by a Catholic organization, and was like a retirement place for nuns. And it probably is very beautiful to live there. Okay, I think maybe you shut off for a little bit until I get my foot in here again. There's one incident that I remember, because it had such an effect on me. In the morning when everybody went milking the cows, they didn't leave me behind, they took me along, and I was still a young toddler, I guess, at that time. And they put me in a basket with straw, and I would sleep in the stall. And one time that I remember, they, for good luck, it was a little bit of a can't think of the word, but anyhow, for good luck, they had a goat running around loose in that cow stall, and this goat came over to me and started licking my face, and it was really not a very nice experience, but that's what they did, and that's what happened to me. It's I just thought it was something to talk about. For some reason, we packed up again and we started moving. I guess because of the Nazis taking over the castle. We had no business there any longer, and my father and mother, they found a place in which is called Schleswig-Holstein, which is a province, and we moved to a place near Bad Oldesloe. Bad Oldesloe was like a nice little town, it still is, and the place near Bad Oldesloe was called Poggensee. Poggensee was very small, what they call it, a cow town, and we started living there. And I remember that one time my father took me to work, I guess, or I was somehow caught on the job, his job, and I was riding on a big old plow horse and fell off, and my one hand was kind of caught under his foot, but this horse was so gentle that I didn't get hurt at all. But anyhow, we stayed there I think a year or so, and then we moved on to another place again, and that place was a place near Hamburg. It was called Billwerder. Billwerder was was like I can't think of that name right now. It was of the outskirts of Hamburg. There was actually only one street in the entire town that was maybe 5 miles long, or 7 kilometers. And it was a nice place, and we stayed there for a long time, which I'm going to talk about now, starting now. But when we first came to Billwerder, the house that we were staying in was a villa, and it was a beautiful place with a nice front yard and also with a nice grassy yard in the back. And it was like a farmhouse next door to it. That's where the boss lived, and Richard was a farmer, and my father worked there. I guess as soon as we got there, I met some little boy. His name was Oddy Wagner. And Oddy Wagner, he came down on his scooter, and he told me that all this belongs to him, and I have no business being there moving in, because strangers are not allowed. Of course, I went to my mother and told her all about it, and she says, that guy is just playing games with you, so you go back out to the street and keep on playing. This was now 1939, and 1939 is when I started kindergarten. I remember how big I thought I was, because I was a kindergartner, and there in the school system you were a kindergartner for 1 year, and then you started first grade. Do you have anything that I should be talking about that you have in your head?
No.
No?
Good.
It was a nice place in 1939. But we got some bad news, and the bad news was that Germany started war with I think the first was Poland, and it was the beginning of World War II. One of my foster brothers started to become a soldier, and actually all three became soldiers sooner or later. But the one son, Erwin, the middle son, he got killed as soon as they started to get into Poland. And the others I don't know too much about what happened during the war. As we got a little older, I think I was maybe 6, 7 years old, we could, because of the war, we could hear bombs at night that fell onto Hamburg. It was not too big and too dangerous yet, but still, it was not a good place to be in the cities. We never went into the city there. But we had to go to school. And sometimes when we were maybe halfway, it took us about a half hour to walk to school. We were halfway there, you got an alarm signal that you had to follow, which was a sound like a fire engine. And then we had to go and turn around and find a shelter, and mostly we went all the way home. And by the time that we got home, we got the signal that we could go out again. So we went to school sometimes 3 or 4 times in one day without even getting into the school because of the bomb scare that we had. But when I was in 3rd grade, there was a request, or I guess you can call it a request, that some of the children that were at that age, Hitler wanted to save for his Aryan people, so he would have a clean race and he would rule the world. So we were then shipped to Bavaria, and we stayed in Bavaria for like 6 months. And because it was a very safe place, all the little towns where we stayed in and where we could stay in, they were not of any value to be bombing, because the population there was so very sparse. And I remember that towards the summer of 1943, my foster mother came to pick me up and take me back home, because she said to me that I'm going to take you home because when we die, we all die together, which I think is a crazy thing to tell a little boy or a little kid. But we went back home and I didn't think anything of it. And then we saw the bombs coming down in Hamburg. They had 3 nights where they put like a carpet, they called it a carpet bombing, where they took 1/3 of the city and just concentrated on that. And then there's this 2nd third and then the 3rd third. Then they were finished with Hamburg. But let's go stop for a tiny bit.